What is going on, guys? Ultimate Deadpool here, back with a spoiler review for Deadpool and Wolverine. Um, where do I begin, man? So, I will admit, it's not perfect. It's close, though. At least for me, it was. Um, Deadpool's motivation is very messy, considering he wants to be an Avenger. He wants to be bigger, and he leaves Vanessa for that. I thought was kind of like okay. But when I was watching the movie, I'm like, okay, maybe not the best motivation for him, but I get it. He feels like he can do better. He feels like he can do more. So let's go ahead and just start with the beginning of this movie, man. The opening credits kick a lot of ass, if you ask me. Because I remember when they first announced that Hugh Jackman was coming back, there were so many people be like, oh my god, this is going to destroy the legacy that Logan did, and it's going to undo his death. And it's like, no, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. And right off the bat, you have freaking Deadpool digging up the grave site of Logan, and I'm like, oh my god, they're seriously gonna bring him back after they said multiple times, we're not bringing him back. He's not coming back, or that version of Wolverine is gone and not coming back. And then all of a sudden he pulls out his adamantium skeleton and is just chatting with him, and I'm like, seriously? I thought that was funny. And then when the TVA agents show up to arrest Deadpool, or take him back to the TVA or whatnot, I love the fact that they had him use the freaking skeleton of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine from Logan, and he's just breaking bits and pieces off of him, bones and stuff off of him, and using his adamantium skeleton as weapons. I thought that was funny as hell. It was a little disrespectful in a weird way because it was Hugh Jackman's Wolverine from Logan, and I love that they even pull out the freaking tree stump that killed him originally. And Deadpool sniffs is like, "Oh, that did not age well," or something like. It was a dumb fun thing. And then when Deadpool finally gets to the Wolverine claws and he slides them on, and you just see like the muscles around him that activate the claws, and the claws are right there, and he just goes like that. He's like, "Oh, let's go!" And then the freaking title card shows up behind him, and then it panorams around to his ass, and then goes back. I think they said like 6 weeks or 6 months something before, and they have Jon Favreau show up, Happy Hogan himself, a cameo, because Deadpool wants to become an Avenger. Now keep in mind, at this point Tony Stark is still alive, because Happy is, the year's about like 2018 or something like that here. So that's before the events of Endgame. That's before the events of Infinity War. It's confusing. And the whole movie is kind of like that, but I was okay with it because the Fox X-Men stuff is all convoluted and makes no sense whatsoever. This movie does not help that by any stretch of the word, but it was okay. There are a lot of Easter eggs in Happy's room, from the Iron Man Mark V suitcase suit to the prototype Captain America shield from Iron Man 2, as well as the Spider-Man Homecoming photo where Tony and Peter or whatnot take a photo, and the Iron Man helmet that was later retconned to be Peter's mask in Iron Man 2 was also there as well. So I thought that was a really fun. Those were really fun Easter eggs and whatnot. But obviously, Deadpool is rejected by the Avengers, and whatnot. He's been rejected by the X-Men and whatnot. He feels like he could do more, but he just kind of gave up the superhero life and whatnot. I thought that was kind of, a little bit on like really that's what you're gonna do. I always thought he gave up the superhero life to protect his friends and family, especially with Vanessa. And it's like, no, he didn't do that. It's like, okay. So, and then obviously, that once the TVA's, kidnap Deadpool and whatnot, they basically say, okay, so you just lost your anchor character. And I think that's going to be one of those big things that the MCU is going to kind of start taking from this movie into the future of the MCU, is because basically they explain that there's one character in every universe that is like that character is like the staple of that universe. That if that character dies, that universe starts to die off relatively slowly. Usually, I think they said like 10,000 years or something, or 1,000 years or something before the universe is officially dead. And in Deadpool's universe, it was Hugh Jackman's Logan that once he died, that he was the anchor character. And if you go back and you watch the X-Men movies, Hugh Jackman stars in about half of them. So, yeah, he was definitely the anchor character. Which I feel is going to come back later for, like, Avengers Secret Wars and whatever. Because Avengers Secret Wars has been rumored to be a soft reboot of the MCU. And, they're going to probably bring back characters like Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, stuff like that. But it's not going to be the same actors. It's going to be new actors who can do it longer, or do it more, and are cheaper. Because as much as I would love to see Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, and Scarlett Johansson all back as their respected characters, Secret Wars is already probably going to be a $400 million movie as is, because of how expensive and all the cameos and stuff that they are teasing for it. I don't think that would work all that well. So that's probably what they're going to do. They're probably going to have the MCU actually be in jeopardy, because if you think about it, Iron Man could have been the anchor character for the MCU, and now that he has died, the MCU is going to slowly start to die off, and then by Secret Wars, after all these universes collaborate and get merged together into one big universe, they're going to have different characters, and it's just going to kind of fix everything. Which is what's rumored to happen anyway. So, once Deadpool finds that out, and he gets his new suit from the TVA, he then goes on a multiverse hopping mission through the TVA, or using the TVA to find a Wolverine to replace the one that he lost. And it's just a hilarious ride from there. I love when they busted out Hugh Jackman sporting short, comic book accurate Wolverine. He was so short. It was so funny. I was laughing my ass off when I saw that. I'm like, oh my god, they did the freaking short Wolverine, and it was so weird and off-putting seeing Hugh Jackman freaking just standing there 5'0" nothing, and it's like, oh my god. I was laughing so hard. There's a lot of comic book references to Wolverine comics and stuff, like the one where he's like almost crucified on like an X or something, and it's just raining. That was something that they pulled from the comic books into Deadpool and Wolverine. Weapon X, where he's got like the silver containment thing on his left hand. That is a variant that shows up, and he has like the big bushy hair and everything. That was a really fun cameo. They do give him there is the brown and yellow suit Wolverine, which when Wolverine wore that particular suit was up against the Hulk in some cases, and they do show off the Hulk ever so slightly. You see him in the reflection of Wolverine's blades, and then Deadpool looks up and you see the shoulder of the Hulk. That scene cuts away, and they just lightly tease Hulk versus Wolverine, which is, I'm sure, something they're saving for Secret Wars, because you don't just tease that fight like that and it's like, yeah, nah. It's like they're probably going to do something like that for Secret Wars, because the whole point of Secret Wars is setting up Battle World, which is basically a whole bunch of heroes fighting each other because their universes are in trouble of being destroyed. That's essentially what this is going to be. That's exactly how you can set up Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, or a version of Wolverine, fighting a version of the Hulk. So, that was fun. Hulk was very short-lived, but very much appreciated. And then they go to a universe where Henry Cavill plays Wolverine. And I'm like, oh my god, they freaking did it. They got Henry Cavill to play Hugh Jackman, which I'm sure is just a light testing the water type thing. It's like, how are fans going to react to this? If they like it, they may roll with it. If they don't like it, they'll probably find somebody else. But I just think it was so funny when Deadpool's like, we're going to treat you better than the people down the street, referring to how DC really screwed Henry Cavill over. No offense to James Gunn or anybody like that, but it's just business and whatnot. But it's really funny that Henry Cavill's like, I'm coming back for Superman. I even quit the Watcher, or the Witchers, or whatever the show he was a part of for Netflix. He quit that show so he could go back to being Superman, and like, oh no, you're fired. It's like, that's the biggest kick in the nuts anybody could get. But anyway, that was a really fun cameo. There's a couple, they have Old Man Logan, like comic book accurate Old Man Logan was freaking awesome. And he just looks up and you just see gray hairs on him, and Deadpool's like, oh, nope, sorry, you're too old. And then freaking Old Man Logan just shoots him in the chest or something. Or no, he shoots him in the balls with a shotgun. I thought that was so funny. And then there's a couple other cameo moments and stuff in there. And then, so he brings back the Logan, or Wolverine, that you get stuck with the rest of the movie. The one who let down everybody, who let all of his X-Men friends and stuff are gone, and he screwed up. Later to find out he didn't really screw up, he just wasn't there. And he has been labeled as the worst Wolverine out of all of them, and I'm like, damn. So I was sitting there watching the movie, and they were explaining, this stuff, and it's like, okay, well, if he brings back Wolverine, wouldn't that technically fill in that space? And they're like, no, that's not going to work that way. You can't just bring a Wolverine from another timeline and just have him live here, because that's not how it works. And then obviously Deadpool and Wolverine get sent to the Void, and the fight that goes down between them when they first enter the Void, I thought was really good. It's plastered all over the trailers. And, I thought it was so funny that when Deadpool gets smacked onto the freaking 20th Century Fox, he's like, rest in peace, rest in peace, Fox, or something like that. He says something like that. And I'm like, dude, that's pretty wrong, considering that when Disney bought Fox, a lot of people's jobs were just flat out replaced with other people. And we'll get into more stuff with that in a minute. But I'm like, whoa, I get what they're doing, but at the same time, it's like some of those people lost their jobs, but then obviously I'm sure they went on to work on something else for Disney. But it's like, man. So that whole fight scene was so fun. It's a little short-lived than what I would have rather seen, but then obviously you have like you have after what's funny is when the thing that stops the fight between Wolverine and Deadpool is freaking Chris Evans in a like blue hoodie thing, and I was thinking, oh my god, did they bring Human Torch in here? And they freaking did. I love the joke that Deadpool's like, he's gonna say it, Avengers Assemble, Avengers Assemble. He just says flame on, it just flies up in the air. I clapped, I was cheering. I'm actually somebody who loves those first two Fantastic Four films with Chris Evans. Jessica Alba and all the other actors that were a part of those two movies. I actually like those movies. So to see Chris Evans back, and he actually references, Reed Richards and stuff like that, kind of explaining the rules of the Void and the TVA and whatever, so that way general audiences who don't watch, the Disney Plus shows, they know how this stuff works. So I thought that was really fun. And then when they get to the Ant-Man or giant Ant-Man thing, it is cameo central. They had Toad, Lady Deathstrike, Sabretooth, who gets killed relatively quickly in a hilarious fight fashion by getting just decapitated. And then you have the Juggernaut from Last Stand. I think they had the Russian from the Punisher, which is kind of shocking considering he died in Punisher. And then there were so many other cameos from like X-Men Last Stand. Pyro was also there. I thought was really fun. But just that whole shot with Deadpool and Wolverine having to go to this place to talk to Cassandra Nova and whatnot, and have her send them back, I thought was really well done. And that whole scene was just literally cameo central. And then obviously Cassandra Nova defeats Deadpool and Wolverine with like no effort whatsoever, and she basically was like, you step in my way again, you're gonna die, blah 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 blah. And then so Deadpool and Wolverine escape, and then they go off and find they find one of the Deadpool Corp members. I think they referred to him as the Nice Pool, but in marketing I think he was just called Handsome Deadpool. Or something, and it's just Ryan Reynolds wearing this like shiny armored thing with Dogpool as a pet, and he has like long luscious hair thing and just a handsome Ryan Reynolds face. I thought that was so funny. And I'm like, okay. And he has these gold plated pistols that main Deadpool really wants but doesn't really get them until later in a hilarious fashion. We'll get into that in a little bit. And main Deadpool has like this obsession with wanting to own Dogpool and whatnot. It's just really funny the way that they just shot Dogpool and whatnot. So they get this like Honda Odyssey thing, and it was just the fight that happened in the Honda Odyssey I thought was freaking awesome. But before we get into that, the speech that Hugh Jackman's Wolverine gave in that car, explaining to Deadpool that you're nothing, you're a joke, you're an idiot. No, it's no wonder that you were rejected and stuff like that. Dude, that entire scene, that entire speech was like, dude, that is what Wolverine would logically do because he's getting frustrated with Deadpool who won't shut up. And just that entire scene or fight scene that ensued after that, I thought was really, really well done. Because it's one thing when you're fighting outside, it's quite another when you're fighting inside a controlled environment or a contained small thing. And I freaking love that they were fighting so long, and they literally fought all night that they both just passed out. And then when the camera cuts to the top view shot of Wolverine in his suit with his sleeves lightly tattered and Deadpool's like wrapped up in a mummy cocoon type thing with the seatbelts, I just started laughing my ass off. And then which takes you to I stress the word cameos because the next four people that you're about to meet, or the next three people that you meet here, I feel they're not necessarily cameos, but more supporting roles. Because, yeah, they show up, but they're like, cameo central and whatnot. But they're treated as more supporting characters because they still have like 12 or so minutes of screen time in total each. I thought it was really well done. So that's when you find out that they are part of the Resistance. They're part of the people who do not care about Cassandra Nova, and they do not want to get eaten by Elias, or Alioth. I've heard it both ways. The eater of void stuff in the void. So they resist. And it's filled with Elektra from Ben Affleck and Elektra, which I did see the Ben Affleck movie not too long ago for the first time. She was a fun part of the movie. I still have not seen her solo movie yet, but she was a fun addition. And I love the fourth wall breaking joke, where they're like, oh yeah, Daredevil was here, Punisher was here, and Quicksilver were here, but they all die. All three of them die. It's like, okay, I was going to be so pissed if I did not get... I was so irritated that I did not get Ben Affleck back as Daredevil, but I get why they didn't do it. You know, he's a busy guy. And, you know, I thought that was a fun little Easter egg. And then, so, Elektra shows up first, and then freaking Wesley Snipes as Blade comes back. My jaw was to the ground. I was like, yes! I was so happy. I was literally smile ear to ear. Just to give you a bit of insight, my dad introduced me to Blade at a very young age. Like, no joke, I was probably 2 or 3, give or take, when I first watched those first 3 Blade films. At least the first one. So, I've loved Blade, especially with Wesley Snipes, as long as I can remember. He's the reason I actually got into Marvel Comics, was because of those first 3 films. And I was so happy when I freaking look up and I see Wesley Snipes is back as Blade. And this shocked me for 2 reasons. One, I didn't think Wesley Snipes was going to do anything Marvel related, because there was an article or something that came out not too long ago where he was finding the freaking Mahershala Ali Blade that is still being developed and still being worked on. It has not started shooting yet, to be almost an insult to the Blade character, because, you know, it shouldn't be that hard to make a Blade movie, and even he said that. But I also love it later when he's like, there's only one Blade, there's only been one Blade, there's ever going to be one Blade, and it's me. I love that little reference there. It's like, yeah, and then Deadpool's like, referencing, you know, when is the MCU going to make that Blade movie? And then, so I was ecstatic to have Blade thrown in there. I was having a great time. I'm like, yes, okay, who's next? And then Channing Tatum shows up as Gambit. So, for those of you who don't know this, Channing Tatum was originally supposed to play Gambit in a live-action, you know, full-on solo movie. And he was in development hell for years, and they were finally getting ready to start shooting it. And then Disney bought Fox, and they canceled it. So Channing Tatum never got that opportunity to play Gambit, and it's kind of cool that they invited him into Deadpool and Wolverine as Gambit, kind of fulfilling that role that he never got a chance to do. And his suit, while it looked a little weird because it's comic book accurate, and his comic book accurate suit just looks a little off-putting, a hilarious, fun part of the movie. His accent, where you can't understand him half the time, I thought was extremely fun. And Channing Tatum's performance is fun as well. Wesley Snipes did really great. He has not lost his touch. He hasn't played Blade for 21 years. Or something like that. Because I think Blade Trinity came out in either 2002 or 2003. One of the two. So he has not played Blade in almost 23 years, and he still looks exactly like he did back in 2002 when Blade Trinity came out. And the only thing that's different is he has a beard now with a white stripe and like a white stripe of hair on his head. Otherwise, it looks completely the same. And I thought they handled those characters were handled really well. So then that leads up to Deadpool and Wolverine. And all of, Blade and Channing Tatum's Gambit and Elektra. They're just going to go after Cassandra Nova and they're going to take her down. And they need to get Juggernaut's helmet because apparently she destroyed the Magneto helmet. And whatnot. I think that's a really good world building on their part. So then they go and they go ahead and they slaughter like all of these people and they take down all of these people while Deadpool and Wolverine go and get Cassandra Nova so that way they can get the helmet. And and X-23 shows up as well. That was a fourth cameo. Even though they revealed her in the latest trailer. She does a really good job in here for the time that she's shown in. But obviously they get the helmet, they get Cassandra Nova taken down, and then freaking Pyro double crosses her because he's secretly working with the TVA or corrupt TVA guy. I think his name was Paradox or something, who is a comic book character as well. Or in the comic books as well. They didn't just invent him for the movie. And then he just shoots her. And she's about to die because her powers aren't healing her. So Wolverine obviously has to change of heart. He's trying to do things the Xavier way. And they take the helmet off. She heals and then she sends them away. Or she helps them go on their way. And then after they go into Deadpool's universe, that's when it is extreme cameo central. Because as soon as the portal opens, it's shortly after a new portal opens, and it's just Deadpool cameo fest. It is like an entire army of Deadpools. Lady Deadpool, Cowboy Deadpool, Headpool, Babypool, Kid Deadpool, freaking Handsome Deadpool, all these people. And I'm like, this is freaking awesome. And the freaking hilarious thing that they did with Handsome Deadpool, because I was hating Nice Deadpool throughout. Every time he was on screen, I'm like, this guy's annoying. I can't stand this guy. This is ridiculous. They freaking have main Deadpool use him as a shield against all these other versions of Deadpool that are just firing their guns, and all these bullets and stuff are hitting freaking I guess you could say Nice Deadpool or Handsome Deadpool. I'm just gonna call him Nice Pool or whatever. So all these freaking bullets are hitting him. He's just taking it. It reminded me of the scene from Austin Powers 2 where Austin Powers travels back in time and he does the exact same thing with the person who's trying to kill him. He's just continuously using her body as a freaking shield. It literally felt exactly like that, except the difference is it was two versions of Deadpool. And so they get off to the side and they get away from the fire, from the Deadpool shooting at them. And Nice Deadpool is just like, or regular Deadpool's like, how long does it take for you to heal? It's like, regenerate? And saying that he doesn't regenerate, so main Deadpool just got him killed. And I'm like, oh my god. I was laughing so hard. And then freaking Deadpool's like, we need to get you to the donut stand because the donuts will heal you. And I'm like, what? So then Deadpool picks up Nice Deadpool and starts slowly walking with him, using him as a shield on his backside so they can get to this cart. And about to the point where they get halfway, he's like, you're getting heavier, use those legs. He's like, we're all heavy when we're paralyzed and everything else. I'm like, dude, oh my god. Deadpool just straight up got this poor innocent man just murdered with no effort and like not a care in the world. And he's like, you're gonna live. Say it with me now. And they do this for like 5 times. They're like, you're gonna live. I'm gonna live. You're gonna live. I can't hear you say it. I'm gonna live. And as soon as he says I'm gonna live, his fucking head explodes with an RPG. I'm like, yeah, no, you're not gonna live, pal. You're not gonna live. they freaking move off to the side next to the donut cart. And freaking Wolverine is holding Dogpool at that point. And he just walks across. But because he's Wolverine and he's holding Dogpool, none of the Deadpool variants shoot at him. I was laughing my ass off so much. I'm like, oh my god. And he's like, you son of a bitch, you just straight up got this guy killed and blah, 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 blah. And then Deadpool just steals the dude's guns, his gold-plated pistols. And was like, let's just get this over with. And finally, they give Wolverine the comic book accurate cowl. And it looked phenomenal. It looked so good. And they freaking have this montage of just them panning around, killing all of these Deadpool variants and whatnot through a bus and a whole bunch of other places, throughout the street that they're on. And it was just such a fun scene to witness. And then all of a sudden, it goes up to baby Deadpool, who's just laughing his butt off. And both Wolverine and Deadpool are like, what's so funny? And all of a sudden, you just see all of these Deadpool variants they just killed rise back up and heal because they can do that. And then Peter shows up wearing Deadpool's original suit. And Peter had to have some kind of surgery down below because what the hell, man? And it turns out that there's a Peter in every Deadpool universe. My guess is this is Fox's way of not having Bob, or Hydra Bob, so they're giving Deadpool Peter instead of Hydra Bob, which I think is funny. And then just all of a sudden these Deadpool variants is like all around swarming Peter, and Deadpool's just like, enjoy my Peter, we gotta go save the world. I'm like, oh my god. So then they go off, and then you find out that the TVA guy you find out later that he's been building this machine that can just destroy universes like that, or destroy dying universes like that, instead of it taking 1,000 years or whatever to do. Cassandra Nova wants that, she's after it, and then Deadpool and Wolverine try to stop her. They can't turn it off, but one of them has to get incinerated in order for it to destroy the machine or turn it off, and that's exactly what happens. Deadpool and Wolverine are like, okay, well, and Wolverine's just like, dude, I've got nothing. You've got friends and family and stuff to go back to. Let me do it. And then Deadpool's like, okay, and he switches places with him. He does the sacrifice play, and Wolverine is just banging on the door with all of his strength and whatever, while Deadpool is taking these machine pieces and trying to fuse them back together, crossing the wires and whatnot. And then at the last possible second, Wolverine busts through the door, grabs Deadpool's hand, freaking Guardians of the Galaxy style, and both of them, with their healing factors, just destroy Cassandra Nova, blowing the machine up, killing her quickly. And it's like, and then the freaking main villain, which I would consider the main villain, is the TVA guy, in my opinion. I did not see Cassandra Nova as the main villain. I see more of Paradox as the main villain, because he was the one setting up all this stuff in motion. Even he was like, those two people down there just gave their lives to save this universe, and I was just, blah, 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 blah. And he's just trying to save his career. And all of a sudden, you hear Deadpool's voice in the back saying, what are you talking about, Sugarkins or something like that? And the dude's like, shit! It's like, damn it, I thought they were dead. And freaking Hugh Jackman his physicalness, he is still jacked as all get out, and he is like 55 something or 50 something, because as soon as he touches hands with Deadpool, the top half of his suit burns off, and you see freaking Wolverine's abs and everything else, for a lack of a better term. And dude, Hugh Jackman, I don't know what the hell you're doing or what you're on or how you managed to stay in that good a shape at your age, but dude, whatever you're working, man, it is shocking how good a shape you're in at that age. And it was just really a way to have Wolverine shirtless, because a lot of the earlier Fox X-Men movies had him shirtless quite a bit for some reason. So I just thought that was an interesting callback. and then obviously both of them survive, and Paradox gets taken away from the TVA and is now in jail or TVA prison or whatever. He's going to get sent to the Void himself, and then the main, I guess, runner of the TVA was like, you know, whatever you did to this universe, you've saved it, and now it's not going to get, you know, canceled or destroyed anytime soon. So Wolverine is allowed to stay in Deadpool's universe. It's the same Wolverine that was throughout the whole movie. And before they leave, Deadpool says, "Hey, I've got some friends in the Void, and I'd like you guys to help them as best I can," implying that Wesley Snipes' Blade, Jennifer Garner's Elektra, Channing Tatum's Gambit are all going to come out of the Void and be brought into Deadpool's universe. So that way, when Secret Wars comes out, hopefully those characters can make another cameo. Or have another supporting role time in Secret Wars. And they bring Daphne McLean or something, McLean, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but the X-23 is brought back as well. And then the movie ends with hinting that that Wade and Vanessa are going to get back together and they're going to live happily ever after. And then the movie just basically wraps itself up, and then then you have a really fun scene at the very end of the movie, and keep in mind there's no post-credit scene. There's an end credit scene, but there's no really post-credit scene. The post-credit scene kind of shows different clips and behind-the-scenes footage from the previous X-Men movies, previous Fantastic Four films. And stuff like that from the previous era of Fox Marvel movies. Really showing you that, yeah, they were poking fun at Fox, but they were doing it in a nice, joking manner. And that scene alone was basically meant to say this is a celebration, not a goodbye, a celebration of the Fox universe. And then the very last scene of the entire film, the very end credit scene, is Deadpool goes to the TVA with a VHS tape showing the audience that Chris Evans' Human Torch actually did say those horrible things about Cassandra Nova and did not in fact get him killed. I thought was a really, really fun end credit scene. My entire theater was just dying laughing. I thought it was so, that whole sequence was so fun and so ridiculous. I'm like, yeah, that was definitely worth the weight of credits, because believe it or not, there's really not that many credits in Deadpool and Wolverine. You would think there would be, but the credits go by like that. Mostly it's because of the montage that they give you as the post-credit scene for the movie, but in actuality there is no post-credit scene. It's an end credit scene. But I did have fun with it, so let me know what you guys think of Deadpool and Wolverine. I had fun with it. I still say it is probably just as good, if not better, than some of the previous Deadpool films. I do think it's better than at least Deadpool 2, because to me Deadpool 2 just felt weaker than Deadpool 1. But I still had fun with it. I know there's plot holes. I know there's stuff that doesn't make sense. I know that X-23 realistically shouldn't be in the Void. I know Deadpool 3 should technically take place years after Logan, even though Logan died in 2029, and Deadpool 3 or Deadpool 2 takes place in 2018, but it still references Logan dying. It's just all the cheeky fourth wall breaking stuff, and they confirm that Logan did in fact die in Deadpool's universe, which it's confusing, but then again, the entire Fox X-Men stuff has been confusing, especially with the prequel stuff. So it's nothing new. But anyway, let me know what you guys thought of it. I actually had a blast with this movie. I hope everybody else does as well. If you did see Deadpool and Wolverine, let me know what you thought down below. If you did not watch Deadpool and Wolverine and you just wanted to watch the spoilers, well, I just basically told you the entire movie in 40 minutes. So but anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys all next time. Bye.